noticed your journey from the beginning of ANAROCK until now. You're the one of the company who has been adopting technology in fast pace, and you are not shy about the digital transformation, even talking about technology. So let's talk about Astra. That's the first technology which has gained patent. Could you tell our viewers what does this tool does and how is it important to have a patent for such tool?
Can I explain in crude English?
Yeah.
That's how I have understood it. So it has sort of fitted in my head. So as a chartered accountant, I used to audit a sugar mill. So in the sugar mill, when the truck came in with sugar canes, the good quality sugar canes, which had more juice, were segregated and went to a better machine. And the not so good quality went to not so good machine. So the first thing that the Astra does is the moment the incoming call comes from a prospective buyer. It goes through 72 algorithms immediately at a fraction of a second, and it says platinum, platinum, platinum. That means 1 in 2 chances this deal will close. Nice. What time of the day it has called, what day of the week, if it's a Monday at 12 noon, high probability that this is a real buyer that is going to do it. Which mobile carrier it is calling in from, which circle they are calling in from, like this 72 algorithm. It is going and it is picking it up and saying is that 1 in 2 chances this will do it. That lead straight goes to our sales agent. The rest of the leads go to our call center, because also you don't want to bombard your sales agent with all the calls. How will he attend the customer at the site? So it is good quality lead. So that's the first thing that it does. Second is, once he's had a call, say the customer does not want to buy it, he'll try it again, third time, fourth time. After that, he puts it in the dustbin. The lead that it is dead, that the customer doesn't want. The Astra goes into the dustbin and brings it around and he says, this sugar cane still has juice in it. Put it back in the machine. That day when you called, he had either a fight with his wife, or his boss was standing in front of him, or he was not in the frame of mind, and hence he did not speak with you. But this is a genuine buyer. There is juice in this sugar cane. Go back. And that is what Astra then gives back to the sales agent, and we discover that gets converted into that. Now the same format is across every, I would say, event. For example, he came at the site and didn't like it, and then you put it in the dustbin. That it's a dead lead in there. The Astra goes in there and says, no. The sales agent didn't show him properly, or it was rainy, or they didn't understand it. Call this guy back again at the site. Or at the financial negotiation stage, it failed. It will pick up again and says that, we believe there is still more juice. Call this guy again. He will or she will close on that. That's what Astra does. We're the only guys in India who have that patent on that is. So as a result of it, what's happening is that you are really juicing out the marketing spend, because with the same money that you have invested, you're really juiced. So it is the same sugar cane. You're not buying another sugar cane, but you're really juicing it out to be able to get more sugar cane juice at the end. So those are the two different things that the Astra does. Is when the sugar cane gets into the factory, the good leads are separated from the ordinary leads, and the good leads go to your best agents, where the probability, and it says on the call, it will say that this is a platinum. I mean, the guy, sales agent, really stands up on his chair to speak with that guy about this is likely to close the deal is. And the not so good quality, then volumes go into the call center. And then at every event, the Astra is going and checking it out whether there is still juice in the sugar cane. And if there is juice, then it throws back to the sales agent saying please call this guy.
So all these leads, are they like how lead generation usually happens through Facebook and Google ads? Are these leads, Astra algorithms are working through those leads also, or okay?
Yes, absolutely correct. Yes. So we generate those leads from social media, from portals, and that is,
you filter out.
And that is where we filter it out. Exactly.
Okay.
That plus also, because there is advertisement in the newspaper on the hoarding, so you also have people calling from the hoarding or from the newspaper ad, and that is also what the Astra is looking at. So it is from social media, but it is also from hoarding or it is from the newspaper ad, or it is from radio jingles.
Interesting. So, like how we are seeing the AI is coming in, Chat GPT is also there, and people are seeing how it can be used for real estate. How do you see this would be a conflict to Astra or a competitor to Astra?
I think it is going to be complementary. So what we are now doing is we are putting in bots onto that, is where the bot is going to be able to answer your initial queries as a home buyer.
Yeah.
And that bot is a voice bot in there is, so that it takes away the strain from the agent in there is. That's one. Second is, the bot is being given the sugar canes which AI is bringing out and saying there's still more juice. We're giving it to the bot only, rather than giving it to a sales agent. We're giving it to the bot and saying is, you have a conversation with the prospective buyer. So I clearly see that this is very complementary. What the bots, AI, and the GPT are doing it. It is making, I won't say that it is bringing in redundancy. Yes, it will bring in redundancy, for example, in the call center.
Yeah.
But those guys will then start to do a higher grade job. They will be a value add job. I mean, look at it. I'll give you an example on the office side. When in Cheston Meghraj we started doing office leasing, it used to be call centers that we used to do it. As I remember in Gurgaon, it was Genpact, call centers. It used to be call centers. Then it moved to BPO, value add, because call centers went to Philippines and other English-speaking low-cost countries. Then it became BPO. From BPO, then BPO started to disappear. It became KPO because it was knowledge. People said Indians are very intelligent, and why do they only do back office? They can do knowledge. From knowledge, it went into IT, software development. That now it has moved to R&D. And there is, so look at it, how the value chain is going up from pure call center to BPO to KPO to ITES services to now R&D. That is happening. Is similarly, I think, is what is going to happen with Chat GPT and bots is that the low value jobs will be done by these machines, and then people will get an opportunity to do better and higher quality jobs. So I dare say, when people believe that there's going to be redundancy that is going to be created, I don't think so. I think it is going to be a better value that the human being is going to be able to deliver, and the bots are going to do the more mechanical stuff that today we are being forced to do.
No, I agree with you on that. Also, I want to know, in 2021, ANAROCK had, announced that it's going to raise $100 million for equity on taking Proptech companies that will match to your, strategic vision, growth, and expansion. So I want to know, now we are in August 2023. What's been the progress like? What's the update? Which are the companies, currently Proptech companies, that you have acquired? And to follow on that question, I would also know, what is the criteria again in this and checklist that you make sure that you consider when you're acquiring such Proptech companies?
So interesting. So we'd made an announcement that we will raise $100 million in ANAROCK. It wasn't really a fund to do Proptech. We said we will raise it in ANAROCK, where we would dilute ANAROCK and raise money so that we could invest in Proptech. But that Proptech had to be synergistic to ANAROCK. It wasn't really a fund that was going to sit outside ANAROCK. It was going to be very closely related to ANAROCK, where we felt is that other than putting in the money, we could add value to that. So that is where our thought was. We're still on that journey. We have, because it's a highly profitable company, so we haven't distributed dividends to the shareholders. We've been using all the profit that we throw up in acquisition of the Proptech companies. So we have several companies on the Proptech that we've acquired or we've invested. I think two large ones that we have is, one is on the community management side, which is called as Apna Complex. Apna Complex, internationally it's called as AnaCity, is pretty large in the Middle East there. In India, it is doing all the residential, and it's moving now onto the commercial side. And the other one that we bought was My HQ and Upflex. My HQ is a very interesting company, and It is an aggregator of the co-working platforms. Just like what you have 99 Acre, Magic Break, and Housing.com on the residential side. So it is that discovery and delivery platform for co-working, platform. So those are the two where we had 100% equity and majority in the other one. And then we have several others where we have minority interest that we have taken it up. But that's where we are being able to add value. What our thought is that we want to see over the next 12, 18 months that how are we being able to monetize before we start to invest more and buy more Proptech is. So we are now in the process of being able to monetize some of these companies that we have invested. If we are able to demonstrate credible exit, if we are able to demonstrate that there is a wealth that was created for the shareholder, for the employees in that company, and there was a value add that we were able to do to the client, then we will continue with the Proptech journey. Otherwise, we'll say, okay, it was a great learning, but we're not going to get into this. But till now, we think is that we've understood the code. We've cracked it. We're going to be sort of looking at making some announcements where we will be exiting, where we will be bringing in strategic partners and be able to demonstrate credible, profitable, sustainable exits of the Proptech companies that we had acquired. So as ANAROCK continues to evolve and making strides in real estate market, I am very curious, and even the audience and especially the experts are curious to know, when will we see ANAROCK getting into B2C transaction space? Are there any plans in future, or are you considering any potential entry in this particular space? So the current format that we have, it's more I would say B2B2C, and the reason is that we service the developers who service the home buyer. So it is a B2B and then B2C, and there are certain aspects of ANAROCK which are even today B2C. For example, the community management app that we spoke a short while ago, which is a complete B2C, because that is where society management and his households that you really get into. My HQ and Upflex, which is the co-working platform, is a very sort of B2C. We have another Proptech solution which is called as Home Exchange. That you bring in your old home and we buy it, and you buy the new home from us. It is like a Cars 24 equivalent that you bring in your old car and you drive with the new car from the showroom. So these are all B2C that we are being able to bring in. So even today it is a mixture, but you're right is that it is largely B2B as ANAROCK, but there are aspects of it which are on the B2C. Are we going to go full B2C? I'm not so sure that we will go full B2C. And then the reason that I say is that it's a very expensive affair to go into a B2C, and a lot of our DNA is more B2B. So I would say is that we will be more B2B2C, where we acquire companies where their DNA is already B2C. We will do that. Yeah, it makes more sense on that. So, given the evolving landscape of real estate financing in India, we are seeing a notable influx of AIF companies coming in, private creditors coming in, debt creditors coming in, and also there are few investors who are putting working capital and investment on the promising ventures. I want to know from your vantage point how this trend will impact in terms of the project, project visibility or project viability, along with the market sentiment and the growth trajectory of this real estate market. I think it is very interesting because it's a very deep question that you ask. Is what has happened is that Reserve Bank of India has said is that the NBFCs, the non-banking financial corporations, will now be governed under the same law as banks. Previously, they were not governed as the same. That is why they were called non-banking. So the RBI would not govern them with the same spray as a bank, and hence NBFCs were allowed to do land funding, for example, for the developer. So debt would be given to the developer to buy land through the NBFCs. Now that Reserve Bank of India, the central bank, has said is that all NBFCs will be governed by the banking, rules and regulations.
Yeah.
As a result of it, NBFCs cannot fund for land buying because they are governed now like a bank.
Yeah.
AIFs have started to come in because there is now that missing opportunity. Because who funds land acquisition? Either the developer has equity, then they can go ahead and buy, or they need debt from someone. So they are now going into AIFs and asking credit from the AIFs to be able to buy land and to be able to then launch the project. And as they launch the project, they either substitute that debt from the AIF that they've taken through the bank, because at that time the bank can lend it because they bought the land, they've got all the approvals, they started to sell it, so the bank is able to do it, or they are able to pay back through the sales that is done. So I do feel is that there's a big opportunity on the credit side that exists. Either it is AIF, which will continue to do that, or some of the large private equity may want to get into credit.
Yeah.
Part of it is because there's a big vacuum that has got created in that. As you look at it, there were so many NBFCs, who were funding for the developers for land, and suddenly under the RBI rule and regulation, they're not allowed to fund for land. So the developer is saying is like, I need that vacuum to be filled by someone. I do feel it's a big opportunity. There are many AIFs, that have been raised and doing well. There are many in the process which are going to be raised. I do feel is that there are large private equity who are looking at the space very closely and says, can we set up a credit fund to fund the developer to buy the land? Once the construction is ongoing, then the banks fund it. Then there is no role, for these credit funds. But until such time that the land is purchased, they have a big role to play.
But when it comes to stall projects and the stress project where AIF companies are coming in, they are micro controlling now. They are micromanaging, meaning they are changing the contractors, they are changing the sales mandate, business guys, whoever the builder had brought in the first place. They are changing everything.
Yes.
And this has not gone down well with the developers. So what is your take on that?
It has absolutely correct. It hasn't gone down well with the developers. But what have developers got a choice?
Yeah.
Under RERA, you have to deliver it. If the project is stalled and a credit guy comes in and says, I will fund it, but I will fund it not through a fund to you, Mr. Developer, but to all your contractors. And by the way, I will monitor, I will issue the checks to the contractors. I'll put in a sales agent who's going to be able to sell it, and let me be involved. I mean, you manage the process, Mr. Developer. Your name is up there because under RERA, you are the one. It is not the credit guy who's putting his name in the RERA. So the developer is very much involved. But these, you're absolutely right. We call them as last mile funds or distress funds. They are saying is we're not going to be hands off. We're not giving money to you, Mr. Developer, and then you doing whatever you want to do with that money. No. That isn't happening.
Yeah.
We are going to be fully involved to make sure that we give the money to your contractors to complete the project. The contractors raise the bill, we give the money directly to them. This is a very large fund, and I'm very fond of them. Called a Swami
Fund.
It was set up by the central government. What a successful runaway success! I think more than 120 odd projects that they have done. It is, and look at it. They are fully involved in the projects. They're not saying is Mr. Developer, here's a check of 10 crores or 20 crores, you do whatever you have to do. No. We'll be fully involved because we want this to get completed.
True.
We want the home buyer to get their homes. And that is the first priority. Now, many developers are not liking it because, you're taking empowerment away from them. But many developers are saying is that's great because, ultimately, legally, we have to deliver it. If we are not going to deliver it, we'll end up in the jail. So, it's better that we deliver it and let this credit guy play a more active role in this. So, I'm personally very happy that the credit guys are taking more active interest and more control rather than giving a check to a developer and saying, do the way that you have to do. Then, again, there would have been misappropriation.
No, it makes
out of
sense
it.
because gone are the days when the bank had to give the money and you know that it's not going for that particular project.
Yeah, it's going for something else.
Exactly, and the materials they have showcased, it's not for the materials. There are no materials in the the project. So of course, these regulations and these controlling power to these creditors makes sense because then you know that where exactly the money is going, and having the right team also makes huge difference.
Yes.
Maybe that contractor they are changing because they are doing some misfund with the whatever the material or the cement is coming and all of that. So I agree with you on that point. Coming back to the prop tech, and this is, trust me, I'm going to ask this last. What is your take when it comes to prop tech landscape of Indian real estate market? Because post pandemic, we saw a transformation. Earlier, where the developers were very traditional, focused on only sales. Now they understand the technology adoption is important. But we have also seen where there have been some unfortunate thing where we have seen the write off of the companies and all, and it has changed the game a bit when it comes to investors also for prop tech companies. I want to know two things. First, what is your intake when it comes to this PropTech landscape? And what is your take when this kind of misfortune happens? How does it affect the investors and PropTech guys, especially in Indian real estate market, where they're trying to make that mark?
So it's an interesting point that you say is one, how important is PropTech? How useful is PropTech? How significant it is going to be? Is it going to be, is it essential? Is it going to be a game changer? And second is, these failures, how does it impact the mood of the investor, of the various other stakeholders? Because, if there is a falling out that is happening, it does take away from the investor's confidence on the PropTech. On the first part, I'm 100% sure that within my working life, we will see a huge amount of disruption in PropTech. I mean, look at it. If you were to ask me 8 years ago that you were to set up ANAROCK and you're going to be selling 20,000 apartments a year, I'd be crazy. What are you talking? 20,000 apartments a year? How are you ever going to be able to do it? Now, we wouldn't have ever been able to do it if there was no digital or if there was no tech, PropTech. In that is, there would have been huge amount of leakage of lead, huge amount of deals being done on the side because there wouldn't have been any technology. We wouldn't have understood. It would have been harakiri. Sorry?
And duplicacy of leads.
Duplicacy of leads. And it would have been harakiri all over the place. You would have no understanding what's really going on. So I'm 100% sure, like every other sector, our sector will get disrupted in there. Would it be completely disrupted? I don't think. I think it will be hybrid, and that's why I think it will be more tech-enabled rather than pure tech. But to say that tech is not going to impact real estate will be wrong. And I'm not only talking on sales and marketing. I'm saying whether it is sustainability, whether it is construction, whether it's planning, whether it's design, whether it's the customer engagement, whether it's building community within your building or facilities. Technology will have to be there is. So that's first. I'm absolutely determined. I'm happy to have an argument with anybody who wants to have an argument on that, is to say technology is not going to disrupt or digital is not going to disrupt. I mean, today we are seeing digital has anyway disrupted. Look at the leads that we get. We were pre-COVID 30% leads coming in from digital. Today 70% of our closures are through digital. And there is, look at it in 5 years. This is what has changed it. Second is a very interesting point where you say is that what happens to the confidence of the investors? If there is a falling out. Now there are two falling outs, A and B. If the falling out is that genuinely you tried and you failed, people have no problem. Because you tried, you gave it your best shot, you were ethical, integrity was there, you were hardworking, the idea was great, but it is not guaranteed that it is going to be a success. It's business. There is a risk in that, and you will fail in that. Investors have no problem in that, as long as everything was above board and ethics and integrity and the hard work was put in. I think where they have a problem is where all this gets compromised, where integrity gets compromised, where governance gets compromised, where financial discipline is not there. That is where it takes away from the confidence of the investor. So I just want to make sure that your audience understands that failure because of a business risk is still palatable, still
True.
acceptable.
True.
But failure because the integrity or the ethics got compromised is not acceptable.